Welcome to the UFC 313 prop drop. Talking about every single prop on this entire pay-per-view card. Talking about the ones that I like. Talking about some of the hedge opportunities you can get with some solid plus money. But ending the segment obviously off with my top 3 prop bets as well as my long shot as well. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into this. First fight up, Jordan Santos going up against Aussie Diaz. This should be a fun strikers battle, but I think this is one where Diaz will finally rise to the occasion. We saw him obviously come up short on the Contender Series a couple fights ago against Joel Pyfer. Then we saw him come up short in his UFC debut against Ming Yang Zhang. But luckily, he doesn't have to worry about a ton of power or athleticism coming back his way from the Jordan Santos side. I believe we'll see Diaz slowly work his way to a finish in the second or third round of this fight. I think that we see him pull away with his cardio and his pace and his pressure, and I think that could lead to a knockout, which you can get Diaz by knockout at plus 380. You can get round 2 knockout at plus 1300 and round 3 knockout at plus 2100. I feel like one of those will end up hitting. And then on the flip side for Santos, I think if he wins this, I think it'll be difficult for him to put Diaz away. He doesn't have that crazy one-shot knockout power, and I think that he'll be at a cardio disadvantage. But if he does end up winning, it likely looks with him getting more damage in the first 2 rounds, and you can get him to win by decision at plus 280. But again, I like the Diaz side and Diaz by knockout. All right, next up, Chris Gutierrez going up against John Castaneda. I'm kind of surprised that the line on Gutierrez is so close here. Obviously, everybody expects this fight to hit the scorecards, which is minus 300, super chalky. But I think Gutierrez's striking advantage will pay off for him. Castaneda might look to take this fight to the ground, but I think we've seen enough urgency from Gutierrez in the past to, 1, stop the takedowns, and 2, work right back to his feet before his opponents are able to inflict too much damage. I think we'll see him then get back to his calf kicking game, which opens up the rest of his striking. And I think Castaneda is durable enough and gritty enough to work through some of that damage, but it will still end up not being enough in the once the fight hit the scorecards, which is where I think Gutierrez ends up winning this fight at plus 140. All right, next up, Myron Santos coming in against Francis Marshall. Fun fight here. The 2 props I'm liking on the Santos side, I think by decision plus 130 or by knockout plus 210. I think, his defensive grappling, obviously very good, very tough to hold down, very tough to take down in the first place. And I think his striking is far superior to that of Francis Marshall. On the flip side for Francis Marshall, he could be improving at a higher rate than we're expecting ever since joining up with the American Top Team and becoming buddy-buddy with Grant Dawson, who is surely working on his wrestling game and chain wrestling game. And I think if Marshall does end up winning this fight, it probably comes by decision, which you can currently get at plus 470. So not a bad hedge opportunity there, but I think Santos will end up coming through here, and I think he ends up coming on the scorecards at plus 130. All right, Alex Morono going up against Carlos Leal. Leal got gypped in his last fight against Renat Fakhretdinov, and I think he's going to try to keep the judges out of it this time around, utilizing athleticism and his speed advantage against Alex Morono here. I think we'll see Leal just absolutely pulverize Alex Morono on the feet. Morono has some deceiving power that he might be able to land a counter and get a knockout of his own, but I think for the most part, it's going to be Leal dictating the pace of this matchup, walking Morono down, using his speed and power, and eventually translating that into a knockout, which you can currently get at minus 125 for Carlos Leal. All right, next up, Bruno Ferreira going up against Armen Petrosyan. Ferreira does not like going to the scorecards. Never been to the scorecards in his career. He's going up against Armen Petrosyan, who does go to scorecards every now and then, more often than not in his UFC career. But I think it's going to be Petrosyan's takedown defense, and I think his submission defense will hold up enough here, as Ferreira is a black belt, but not of the level of Rodolfo Vieira, and I think that will allow Petrosyan to really start dictating the pace on the feet, where he'll be able to showcase his striking advantage. He'll land his 1-2s down the pipe as Ferreira tries to crash the pocket, and Ferreira does have a 1-inch reach advantage, but we know that his style of striking allows the guy with the cleaner, straighter shots down the pipe to be more effective, and that's exactly what we're going to see from Petrosyan here. So look for Petrosyan to use a combination heavy striking style to land more damage on Ferreira and pull away on the scorecards, winning this fight, which you can cash at plus 270. On the flip side for Ferreira, if he wins it, probably comes by knockout, and you can get that at plus 240. All right, very fun fight up next here as we have Joshua Van going up against Ray Tsuruya. Now, this is a fight that I expect to end up hitting the scorecards, which you can currently get at minus 170. Obviously, Tsuruya is going to be looking to get his chain wrestling going. get his grappling going, try to put Van into some compromising situations. But we've seen the improvements from Van in his defensive grappling and his defensive submission game, that he should be able to stay out of too much damage. The issue then becomes, can he separate himself enough to get off on more damage that he ends up winning this fight should it end up hitting the scorecards? I think he does. You can get Van by decision at plus 165, and I think his damage-based approach will end up proving fruitful here. But again, this could be a very close fight, and that control of Tsuruya makes things a lot more sketchy. So I'm still going to go Van by decision. Fight goes to decision at minus 170, could end up looking pretty good. Over 2.5, roughly around minus 200, could be pretty good as well. But yeah, I'm expecting Van to win this fight, and I expect it to come on the scorecards. All right, next up, Curtis Blaydes going up against Rizvan Kuniev. Blaydes, happy that he's not fighting a crazy knockout puncher like, Tom Aspinall or Sergey Pavlovich. And I think that will allow him to operate at a space that he feels most comfortable. Obviously, Kuniev has some wrestling in his back pocket as well. But I think Blaydes will be able to be more effective with it, pushing a pace and pushing an output that Kuniev may not be able to keep up with. I expect this fight to end up hitting the scorecards, and I think Blaydes gets it done, plus 210. But a little bit of a flyer on round 3 Blaydes KO at plus 1,000 may not be a bad spot. I think Kuniev will start to slow down with the constant pace and activity level of Blaydes, and that could open up some opportunities in that third round for him. So to get that 4-digit plus number, I'm willing to take a little bit of a shot on it, but my official favorite prop in this matchup will likely be Blaydes to win this fight on the scorecards at plus 210. Our next up, Maurizio Ruffy coming in, going up against Bobby King Green. I'm going to go with King Green. That's what he's officially changed his name to. Obviously, everybody expects Ruffy to just bonk Green and get him out of there pretty quickly. You can get Ruffy by knockout at minus 120. But we've seen when Ruffy is forced to go into deep waters, things could start to get sketchy for him. And Green is a guy with a ton of experience and output and activity that can cause Ruffy some issues. And if his chin just miraculously shows up today or this weekend, this is going to be a very rough night for Ruffy, who might be able to land some big shots, but he's going to have to continuously deal with that forward pressure and activity level of Green, which could look better to the judges once the fight ends up hitting the scorecards, which it could. You can get Green by decision at plus 750, and this is a flyer. Green's not a big finisher by any means, but considering how much Ruffy starts to slow down later on in matchups, and considering the activity level and experience of Green round 3 knockout is plus 3,300. Crazy line there, but there is a world where that could actually come to fruition here. I think Ruffy does get the knockout, minus 120, not the line that I really want to be pulling the trigger on, but again, Green by decision at plus 750 is definitely worth a consideration as well. Our next up, Amanda Lemos going up against Yasmin Lucindo. Lucindo is the training partner of Verna Jandiroba, who was able to submit Amanda Lemos in her last matchup. But Lucindo, although a decent grappler, is not the type of BJJ wizard that Jandiroba is. So I'd be surprised if she's able to get Lemos to the ground and hold her down for long periods of time to lead to a submission win. I think if Lucindo wins, it comes by decision, which is plus 130. But I think it's actually going to be Lemos who ends up getting the knockout here and showcasing her patented power. You can get Lemos by knockout at plus 600, which I think is a spectacular line. And then the conspiracy hat, long shot for this matchup, Lemos round 3 knockout at plus 2,900. We saw Lucindo grappling for her life against Marina Rodriguez last time around. I think Lemos will show a little bit more urgency in terms of working back to her feet. And then on the feet, I think Lemos is far superior in the striking realm. Lucindo might be a better combination striker, but the power that she's going to be facing from Lemos is going to be very hard to deal with, especially for a young fighter that has not faced that much adversity. Lucindo should be able to grind this fight out, but I actually think it's going to be Lemos that ends up winning it by finish, and that round 3 knockout prop is not a bad spot. Round 3 submission worth a consideration as well if Lucindo looks to go out there and shoot desperation takedowns and end up finding herself in a submission. But I'm going to go Lemos by knockout at plus 600. All right, next up, fun fight here between Jalen Turner and Ignacio Bahamondes. Turner, the more dangerous fighter in terms of finding a finish. Bahamondes, the better minute winner. So you'd probably look to play this fight in that kind of template. So Turner inside the distance, Plus 165, Bahamondes obviously very difficult to put away, but Turner has that snappy power that might be able to finally crack the chin of Bahamondes. Not to mention these guys share the same metrics in terms of reach and height, so that might play against either guy here, whether it's Bahamondes eating cleaner shots than he's expecting to or than he's used to, and then Turner on the flip side, same thing on that side. So I'm going Turner inside the distance, plus 165. I think he either clubs and subs Bahamondes or just puts him out cleanly. And then on the Bahamondes side, Bahamondes by decision plus 310. Usually not a bad spot. I know he finished Manuel Torres last time around, but I think Turner will be more difficult to put away. So I'm going to go Turner inside the distance as my favorite spot. All right, co-main event time. An absolute slobber knocker should be in store for us here. But we saw the last time these guys scored off for 3 rounds, they ended up going the full three rounds. We saw Gaethje's experience come through in that fight. And considering all the advantages he has going into this fight, circumstantially speaking, with Fiziev coming in on a week and a half notice, coming off an extended layoff and an ACL rehabilitation, things may not be in his favor here. And I think he's kind of voiced in some of his interviews that he knows what the risk is here, but he's still willing to take it. And that's kind of giving him an opt out in this matchup in terms of, if things start to get a little bit too hard for him in deep water, there's an out for him. He has a little bit of an excuse. And again, he's not one to utilize excuses. It's just me reading into it more than I should. And that's not something I normally do. But Gaethje to win this fight on the scorecards, plus 380. Tremendous line there. You're already getting a great line on his straight up money line at plus 130-ish. But I think his best path to victory here is by decision. Fiziev, very difficult to put away, and I think that will hold true once again. The fight to go to decision, plus 105, another damn good spot as well, and then Fiziev by decision, plus 240. So I'm thinking scorecards all around here, but I'm going to go decision for Gaethje at plus 380. All right, main event time. Alex Poatan Pereira looking to defend his title for the 4th time as he goes up against his toughest challenge to date in the light heavyweight division. We got Magomed Ankalaev. Now, I think Ankalaev wins this fight, right? I think he is a competitive enough striker. I think his switch stand style will make it hard for Pereira to get off on his calf kicking game that could start to slow Ankalaev down. I think Ankalaev can make him walk into some big shots as well that could cause him some trouble. But I think it's really going to be the wrestling of Ankalaev that sets him apart in this matchup and keeps him safe long enough to really stay away from the power that's going to be coming back his way. Ankalaev by decision, plus 300. Conspiracy hat spots here. Round 4 knockout, Ankalaev, plus 2,300. Round 5 knockout for Ankalaev, plus 3,000. Again, a lot of that having to do with success he could have on the ground and keeping Pereira there and wearing him out from that top position with landing some big damage as well. On the flip side for Pereira, by knockout, plus 150, obviously makes sense there. Pereira, round 3 knockout, plus 1,100. Pereira, round 4 knockout, plus 1,400. My angle on those props is if Ankalaev tries to take a grapple-heavy approach and ends up coming up short, and it gets harder for him to implement it later on in the fight, that will make him make more mistakes, and that could allow Pereira to land some big shots that maybe puts him away. But I think it's going to work in the reverse. I think Ankalaev's takedown success will get easier as the fight goes on, especially as he starts to break down Pereira and keep him on his back, landing big damage, and that should open up either a late finish for Ankalaev or the decision victory, which I think he ends up winning by NU light heavyweight champion Magomed Ankalaev. All right, let's get into the top 3 prop bets that we got for this weekend's card. Last week we had Hydra Emil by decision at plus 450. Came up short on Cap by decision, came up short on Barlow by knockout, and then the long shot De La Rosa by sub ends up being a wash. Actually, I did flip that. I had Emil by round 3 was my sub in for my long shot there, and that ended up missing anyway. But hitting the plus 450 Emil decision, very happy with that. All right, this week's top 3 best prop bets. First one, Chris Gutierrez by decision plus 140. Second one, Joshua Van by decision plus 165. Third one, Justin Gaethje by decision plus 380. And then the long shot, we're going to go a little cheat here in terms of Ozzy Diaz round 2 KO plus 1,300. Ozzy Diaz round 3 KO plus 2,100. There you guys go. Full week of content, not to mention an extra segment of why Pereira will lose to Magomed Ankalaev. Make sure you guys check that out. Put in some solid editing wizardry into that as well. So make sure you guys check that out. Drop a like on that if you haven't already. I'm going to look to do that for every pay-per-view moving forward and talking about strictly the main event in a, plant my flag type of stance. And then I dropped a Legacy Warriors podcast breaking down Cage Warriors, which goes down Saturday afternoon. So if you're looking for breakdowns for that, I got you covered on the YouTube page. All right. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. Full day of MMA action tomorrow on Saturday. Again, KSW Octagon Cage Warriors. And that leads right into UFC 313. Get on the couch, grab some popcorn, grab some drinks. Enjoy a full day of mixed martial arts action. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. I'll see you guys on Sunday breaking down this next UFC card for you guys. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the early drops. I know I have. All right, good luck on your action this weekend, folks. See ya. Peace.